Not Another Anon Story, Chapter 2, Part 2. Several minutes later, they arrived back at Twilight's home. It was a small library located within the trunk of a massive tree dubbed Golden Oaks Library, if the sign was anything to go by. Twilight allowed me to enter and chose a place to sit down, before following behind at a safe distance, eventually taking a seat across from him at a large table in the sitting area of the library proper. Spike followed shortly after, coming over carrying a small stack of papers, a quill, and a small inkwell, setting them onto the table next to the unicorn.
Thank you, Spike. I can take it from here,
she said, dismissing him. He gave a small nod, and stared at the human questioningly for a moment before padding off to go do something or other, presumably. Twilight turned back towards Anon, smiling softly as she used her magic to smack the bottom of the stack of papers against the desk to neaten them a bit, before setting them back to one side and pulling one off the tip. Her quill dipped and ready floating in her magical aura. It was a feat which got a slightly wider-eyed expression than normal from the man across from her.
So, you can do telekinesis or something with that horn then?
He asked, scratching his chin in mild amazement at what he was seeing. She snickered softly and nodded.
And a lot more than that. Unicorn magic is very versatile. Oh, what? Don't tell me you've really never seen magic before,
she said, in an incredulous tone as she raised an eyebrow and leaned in a bit, seeming a bit more interested herself now. He shook his head, thought about it, and then shrugged.
No, not really. Not what I would call the real deal anyways. The most you generally see where I'm from are really good illusionists. Or else just technology that sort of feels like magic, if you don't really understand it.
Really now? So, you're saying that you consider your place of origin to be relatively technologically advanced? It's not really what I'm curious about right now, but still interesting. Thank you,
she said, as she scratched away at the paper in front of her with a floating quill.
You also seem to speak and write in the same language as we do, despite having never come into contact with or heard of ponies, which is very peculiar. And from what I'm led to believe, you have not had the anomalous effects that you're currently displaying before you arrived here earlier today.
Yeah, that's about the long and short of it, to be honest. And I'm awfully sorry about that, by the way. Of course, I wasn't really expecting to make first contact with a species that had an episode if they got too close to me,
he said, as his eyes trailed over the stack of paper.
Hey, would you mind passing me some of that? I think I have a pen in my bag. I kinda want to take a few notes of my own.
Oh, sure,
she said, as she looked up from her furious scribbling and attempted to levitate a paper over to him. The keyword, of course, being attempted. As soon as the paper got a bit closer to him, the aura around it began to flicker, and the paper fell back to the table. A vexed expression crossed her face.
Oh dear, how clumsy me. I seem to have not used enough power. Hold on.
She tried again, her horn glowing brighter this time. While the glow around the paper stayed about the same, maybe a bit weaker than before as it floated towards him once more, when it got a bit closer than before, the same thing happened, much to her visible frustration.
Well, that just isn't right. What's going on?
She said, with an irritated tone. The pattern repeated. She channeled more magic, got a bit closer to him, and it dropped again. More magic, closer, drop. After about a minute of this, a bead of sweat was coming down her brow as her horn glowed rather brightly, the paper not even lighting up anymore, about 3 feet away from him as she breathed more heavily than when she started. He then spoke up, motioning with a hand out to stop her, as he reached out with the other to grab it.
Twilight, it's fine, really. I've got it. See? You can stop now,
he said gently, looking slightly concerned by her behavior.
Alright then, but...
She squinted as she looked down at her paper pile, picking another sheet up, and floating it away from her in the opposite direction as before, then trying to float it back towards him, and as she brought it close to him again, the paper fluttered uselessly back onto the table, same as before, and her eyes widened.
Anon, I think the effect that you displayed earlier is not just some sort of aura of intimidation. I think you may be negating magic in an area around you,
she said, picking up her quill again, and resuming scribbling far more furiously than before.
I'm gonna need to run some tests to be sure, but it seems as though your presence is somehow negating the flow of arcane energy in your immediate surroundings.
He seemed a bit concerned by the news, scratching at the back of his head as he watched her take notes.
So is this, dangerous to you ponies? You aren't gonna, die or something if I get close to you, are you?
Probably not, but I would recommend staying out of range of other ponies until we determine the extent and intensity of this phenomenon. We ponies use magic for, well, basically everything. Appliances, manufacturing processes, military application. Oh, Celestia, my appliances. I'm gonna take it out of your payment if you break anything in the kitchen,
she said in a slightly exasperated but excited tone.
The rest of my questions can wait. This requires immediate elucidation,
she declared as she put down her quill.
Hey, Spike!
As she yelled, the little dragon from before came running back in, looking worried, then slightly annoyed when everything seemed to be okay.
Yeah, what is it, Twy?
He asked as he crossed his arms, looking around as if searching for anything out of place, before settling down, as Twilight handed him the paper with her notes from a few moments before, now rolled up.
I want you to send this to Princess Celestia immediately. Our guest here appears to be the epicenter of an unknown arcane or anti-arcane phenomenon. I'm gonna have to take them to Canterlot to use my old work area because the equipment I have here at the library isn't really reliable enough for something like this. I don't trust it for something this important after the Pinky Sense incident.
She finished the sentence with a small shudder of remembrance.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to fly by carriage, so I'll be bringing the subject by train. I'll be gone with Anon here for about a week, at least. I'll send you an update 3 days from now to let you know if I'll be there any longer.
She's already trotting up to the loft above the library and packing her things as she speaks, her tone of voice clearly indicating that she feels that there's no room for debate on whether he's going with her or not. From what he saw a minute ago, he probably could get away with telling her no, but he probably wouldn't get paid. He was also unsurprisingly not keen to piss off the sovereign of a foreign nation with whom he was presumably the only avenue of diplomatic relations in, well, ever. Spike nodded to her and gave a little salute and set the note on fire. Green flames erupted from his lips and charred the note into nothing, the embers flying quickly out of the window, passing through it ethereally as he gave a small nod.
All sent. But is it really that important, Twilight?
He asked, sounding a bit unconvinced, as he looked back over at Anon.
I mean, this guy can't be too big of a deal, right? He can't be too dangerous, or...
He might be, and he might not be. But if he is, the signs are pointing to it not being deliberate on his part. I need to figure out exactly what is going on with him to make sure that his proximity doesn't present a danger to other ponies.
I'm still getting paid, right? I didn't sign up for any clinical trials or studies or anything. That's gonna run you extra. Twilight stepped back down the stairs, giving an exasperated sigh and rolling her eyes.
While you're staying at the castle in Canterlot, you'll be provided with all of your essential needs and comfortable living quarters, free of charge. And I will personally compensate you once we have determined whether or not you're a walking, talking arcana hazard.
Jeez, alright, I get it. This is a big deal,
he said, giving a flippant gesture with his arm, before crossing them both in front of him and looking down and away with a small scowl.
There seriously better not be any weird alien probing shit,
he said, under his breath, as he kicked the table leg softly a few times. A few minutes later, an important-looking document with a wax seal erupted in green flames from Spike's mouth, which he quickly opened and read.
It looks like the princess says that you're good to go, Twy. She's cool with bankrolling this operation. About time she took your word about something being dangerous,
he said in a slightly bitter tone that made it sound like that there was a story there. But before Anon had the opportunity to ask, Twilight was heading for the door.
Alright, Anon, grab your things and let's get going.
He got up and rubbed at his side a bit, straightening back up and grunting softly.
Alright, you'll let Applejack know what's going on, right? Applebloom might end up wondering where I am when she goes to return my book, and I don't want her to worry about it.
Twilight seems genuinely surprised that he seems to care at all, nodding and giving him a small, somewhat approving smile.
I'll make sure to send Applejack a letter after we arrive there tomorrow, letting them know what's going on. I was planning to do something along the lines anyway to let my friends know what was going on,
she said, before turning back to the purple dragon.
Spike, you're in charge of the library while I'm gone. Try to keep things orderly until our return, and please don't let the Cutie Mark Crusaders try to be librarians again.
She stressed, gently but firmly. Spike gave a little salute again and nodded.
You can count on me, Twilight,
he said, before running off towards the kitchen, giggling with all of the mischievous intent of a child who's gonna do something naughty while their mom is out of the house. Twilight gave a small resigned sigh and opened the door, beckoning for Anon to follow behind, which he did at a reasonable distance. He looked up at the sky as they exited the building, silently hoping that whatever bullshit was about to befall him, the pay would at least be decent. I have a feeling that Anon is either going to get paid nothing, or he's going to get paid a stupid amount of money. If he actually gets paid a decent amount of money, just, a handful of bits or something like that, something reasonable, I would be shocked. Anyways, let's head on over to our advanced donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, Ponyman, and Gauntlet. Zar630, Raiden, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Dospo, Delta Omega, Rune Scyther 9852, Hunter Norman, Dash of Evergreen, Rani Dragonwolf, Secret Moon, Tal Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Swordbrother and Mordred, Ronin Wandering, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Jack Kedge, Skyuchia, Leslie Prickett, Jordan Peterson, Crimson Kitten A9, Lightskin, Monster Kitty, Starlight Glimmer, Lightning Blitz, Squiddy Boy, David D. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, Teal K. Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Raven Speedster, Zach Rakau, Mystery CU, Edgar Garcia, One Kingdom 1, Nissa Rusan, Vazuri, Dyslexic Character Sheets, Just a Random Boy, Hodrick Plinkard, A Crazy Person, Ponyman365, Neapolitan, 6 of 9, Shyfire, and Anstamp PUBG. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.